Hey everyone, and a super warm welcome to Reads with Maria. I am so incredibly excited to talk to you today about a series that has completely taken over my reading life. If you've been looking for a story that feels like stepping directly into a fairy tale, then you have come to the right place. I recently dove headfirst into Stephanie Garber's Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and let me tell you, it was a journey I did not want to end. From the very first page, I was completely captivated by the whimsical world and the enchanting story. This series is truly worth all the hype, and I can't wait to share my spoiler-free thoughts with all of you. My adventure with this trilogy started with Once Upon a Broken Heart. I was immediately drawn into the story, which introduces us to our main character, Evangeline Fox, who makes a desperate deal with a powerful fate. The writing style is just so beautiful. The third-person narrative makes everything feel like a classic fairy tale being told just for you. It was so easy to get lost in the world building, which is rich and magical without ever feeling overwhelming or too complicated. I found myself flying through the pages, eager to see what would happen next in this enchanting and slightly dangerous new world. Next up was The Ballad of Never After, and this book took my obsession to a whole new level. I remember one night, I just couldn't put it down and ended up reading more than halfway through the book in a single sitting. The story deepens, the stakes get higher, and the emotional tension is just perfectly written. This second installment builds so wonderfully on the first, expanding the world and developing the characters in ways that left me breathless. It was packed with so much angst and so many memorable scenes that had me feeling all the emotions from joy to absolute heartbreak. Finally, I reached the conclusion, A Curse for True Love. Going into this book, my expectations were sky high, especially after the dramatic ending of the second one. While this final book was a little different from what I had anticipated, it still delivered a truly satisfying wrap-up to the series. Stephanie Garber has a unique way of taking familiar story elements and making them feel fresh and exciting. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, desperate to see how everything would resolve for the characters I had grown to love so dearly over the course of the trilogy. Let's talk about the incredible characters who make this story shine. First, we have our heroine, Evangeline Fox. She is not your typical damsel in distress. She has a heart full of hope and a belief in true love that is both her greatest strength and, at times, her biggest weakness. Evangeline is incredibly relatable, and you can't help but root for her as she navigates the treacherous and magical Magnificent North. Her journey begins when she strikes a deal to stop the wedding of the boy she loves, a decision that sets off a chain of events far bigger than she could have ever imagined. Then we have Jax, the Prince of Hearts. He is the definition of a morally gray character, and honestly, I fell for him almost instantly. As one of the Fates, he is ancient, powerful, and cursed. Anyone he kisses besides his one true love will die. This makes him dangerous, sarcastic, and incredibly intriguing. His interactions with Evangeline are the absolute heart of the series, filled with witty banter, undeniable tension, and moments of unexpected vulnerability. You're never quite sure what his true intentions are, which makes him one of the most compelling characters I have read about in a very long time. We also have Apollo, who plays a very significant role in the story. He is the Prince of the Magnificent North, and his path becomes deeply intertwined with Evangeline's. To avoid giving too much away, I'll just say that his character arc is complex and adds a lot of drama and conflict to the plot. There were moments in the final book where his perspective took center stage, and while I was always impatient to get back to Jax, Apollo's presence definitely kept things interesting and raised the stakes for everyone involved. He is a character that will certainly make you feel a lot of things. The dynamic between these three characters is what truly drives the narrative forward. Evangeline's unwavering optimism clashes beautifully with Jax's cynical and guarded nature, creating a push and pull that is absolutely addictive to read. Apollo's involvement adds another layer of complication, creating a love triangle that feels high stakes and genuinely unpredictable. Stephanie Garber does an amazing job of developing these characters, making their struggles, their triumphs, and their heartbreaks feel incredibly real and impactful, pulling you deeper and deeper into their story with every chapter. This series is filled with so many unforgettable moments that have stayed with me long after I finished reading. One of my absolute favorites happens in The Ballad of Never After. There is a jealousy scene at a wedding that is just written to perfection. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife, and it was one of those moments where you can physically feel the chemistry and the unspoken emotions between the characters. It's scenes like this that show Stephanie Garber's true talent for writing angst and romance. She knows exactly how to make her readers' hearts race. The books are also sprinkled with incredibly beautiful and gut-wrenching quotes. I tabbed so many pages as I was reading. One line from Jax in the second book completely shattered me. There is nothing of equal value to me. It's delivered at such a pivotal moment, and it holds so much weight and meaning. Another quote I loved, which the author shared online, captures his character so well. He considered setting the room on fire just so he'd have a reason to pick her up and carry her out to save her one last time before he left her for good. It's this kind of writing that makes the characters feel so deep and complex. Of course, we have to talk about the cliffhangers. The ending of The Ballad of Never After is one of the most painful, shocking, and brilliant cliffhangers I have ever experienced. I literally despised it in the best way possible because I was so desperate to know what would happen next. It left me completely reeling and made the wait for the final book, A Curse for True Love, feel like an eternity. That kind of ending is a true testament to the author's ability to craft a compelling story that keeps you hooked and emotionally invested until the very last word. Even the final book, while providing a conclusion, had its own share of emotional highs and lows. There was a particular plot point that I usually don't enjoy in stories, but Stephanie Garber handled it so well that it worked perfectly within the narrative. While some readers felt certain moments were a bit anticlimactic or wished for more resolution for side characters, I was personally so invested in the main romance that the happy ending for them was all I truly wanted. It delivered the emotional payoff I had been craving throughout the entire series, and it was beautiful. After turning the final page of A Curse for True Love, I was hit with a massive book hangover. I just sat there feeling so satisfied with the ending, but also so sad that my time in this world was over. No other book seemed interesting enough to pick up because my mind was still completely wrapped up in Evangeline and Jax's story. This series is the kind that sticks with you, the kind you want to immediately reread to catch all the little details you might have missed. It's a perfect example of a young adult fantasy series that is executed flawlessly. The strength of this trilogy lies in Stephanie Garber's masterful writing. Her prose is whimsical and lyrical, making the entire world feel magical and dreamlike. She has this incredible ability to create an atmosphere that is both enchanting and dangerous, pulling you in from the very first sentence. I am now officially a devoted fan and will immediately buy any book she releases in the future. She has a true gift for storytelling, for creating characters that you fall in love with, and for building romantic tension that is simply unmatched. I would recommend the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy to absolutely everyone. Whether you are a seasoned fantasy reader or someone just looking to dip your toes into the genre, this series is a perfect choice. It has romance, adventure, magic, and a story that feels both timeless and fresh. It's an emotional roller coaster in the best possible way, and I promise you will not be disappointed. It's one of those rare series that lives up to all the praise and will leave you wanting even more from this spellbinding universe. So if you haven't already, I gently and wholeheartedly encourage you to pick up this series. Trust me, you need to read this. It's a 5-star read for me, through and through, and I am so happy I finally took the plunge. It's a beautiful, heart-wrenching, and utterly magical story that will remind you of the power of hope, love, and fairy tales. Thank you so much for tuning in to Reads with Maria, and I hope you fall in love with the magnificent North just as much as I did. Happy reading!